Hey, so this will be the starting point of a new series. I will call it Rowadz Labs. So basically, I will find an idea, try to explore it here by doing a video. I already did like a couple of videos like this, but now I will have an original name for them. So I will have them all in a single playlist. Now, yeah, without wasting time, the idea here, imagine if we use the front-end technologies to serve a static website from a zip file. I'm not sure if anyone will actually face this kind of issue. It's very easy to solve. Just maybe upload these things on a static server, or sorry, upload these things in something like ST3, serve them statically. That's it. But what if we can just use web front-end technologies or web APIs to actually allow this to happen. So for example, the front end will request a zip file. It will contain HTML, JavaScript, CSS, and the front end is now responsible to save these from the zip file itself. So if we want to actually like add some points to what we need to do, first thing, set an HTTP request to the backend, get the zip file that contains the static website. That's step one. Step two, extract the files from the zip file. Step three, inject the HTML somewhere in our DOM. Step four, load the CSS. Step five, load the JavaScript into that website. And all of that will happen from the zip file on the front end without any server. Or I guess the server is just there to save the static zip file. Like, I will send a request to get the zip file. I will save everything now from the zip file on the front end, and that's it. I hope the idea is clear, but basically that's it. So to start, I'm gonna go here and I will go to projects. Now I need to get a name. I usually hate finding out names for these kind of projects. So uh, fantasy name generator. I'm gonna use that. Uh, it does not matter, so I'm gonna click on anything here. It's kind of slow. Yeah, it's really slow. Okay. I need simple names. Um, yeah, I'll just get this one here. No idea what does that mean, by the way. Okay. Now to generate the app, I will be using React, but you can use anything you want. We won't use something that important in React. It's just basically JavaScript stuff or web APIs and stuff. I'm gonna use Vite to actually generate my app. I really like it. And to get started, the only thing you need to type is npm init vite at latest, give it the name of your app, and answer some questions. So I'm here, npm init at or vite at latest. Not sure if you need to type that, but I will give it, this is the name of my app. And now it will ask me what kind of like template or framework you want to use. I will choose React and just React without TypeScript. Now let's go there, npm install, and after that we will open it in Visual Studio Code. Hopefully this will run fast. I don't want to cut these things out. But yeah, let's just, okay, yeah, it's done. Okay, now open that with Visual Studio Code or anything. And to serve it, just look into the package.json. You will see these scripts. We will use the dev one. So npm run dev. This should serve it now in localhost 3000. That's it. So let's clean it up. I will remove the logo, the state, remove this, and I will remove all of that. I will just retain an h1 that says test. I will format the code with prettier. I will remove the app.css. I will remove the index.css. And after removing that, I need to remove it from here, and also delete the logo file. And this should be it. Now we won't care about the style. We will make this as ugly as possible. Does not matter. But now first thing, let's actually create our zip file that contains the static folder. So this here is where I am, and I will create the zip file here. And the way I will be able to send it to the front end, Vite will actually create a static web server behind the scenes, and everything I can access anything by doing the following. So localhost 3000 will actually expose anything from here. So I can go to source, then I can go to this file and just serve it here. As you can see, I just read that file code. But yeah, it does not, like, this is what I'm gonna use to serve this static.zip file. But yeah, that's what I'm gonna use. And actually you can access anything. So I can go to node modules, for example. Let's get this file. So copy relative path. Yeah, as you can see, we got it. Anyway, so yeah, now let's go here and let's create first thing a new or let me delete it. Let's do it in Visual Studio Code, then create the actual zip file. I will come here and create an index.html. The name will be show me, and in the body h1 hello, and a paragraph hi, and I will create an index.css. So I'm gonna add star. This means everything. The color will be white, and the background color will be black, and the final thing will be the index.javascript. So set timeout. After 4 seconds, just alert if you see this, you are, or yeah, if you see this, you are good. Does not matter. Yeah. So the idea now, we need to generate a static, like a zip file, sorry, that contains this static website. And let's actually do that. I will select the index of JavaScript, CSS, and HTML. I think, yeah, a new zip file. I will call it static, and I will just put everything here, and this will actually copy them. So after I copied them, I can just delete them, and here they are. To make sure actually we can save that to the front end, so just type source, then go to static.zip, and it will be downloaded. We are good to go. Now, the first step, let's fetch that zip file to the front end. To do this, I will be using Axios. It will make things easier. You can use it using the fetch API. So yeah, I'll just install it. npm install Axios. I'm gonna cheat. I already wrote the code. I will convert this to a functional, to an arrow component, or a raw function. And now let's actually, this is how we can import Axios. So import Axios from Axios, and I will use or I will define a button. Like, let's wrap everything in a React fragment, and I will define a button. Click to load the static website, to load and run the static website. I won't actually use effect. I will introduce you to a really cool package called React Use. Pretty sure you know it. I really like it. There is so many good hooks there. I highly recommend that you see it. But one of my favorites is the use async function and use async retry. These are my favorites. So I'm gonna use this package, and I'll use this function. I'm just trying to add like extra stuff to make this at least useful. because I'm pretty sure no one will use this kind of thing maybe in real world, but yeah, who knows. So import from React use async function, and that you will define inside of it an asynchronous function, and it will return to you an array of 2 elements. The first one is the state of the promise. So if it's failed, if it's rejected or pending or fulfilled, which represented by if it has an error, if it has a value, or loading. Loading will be a boolean. So this is very nice. Usually you will do like this with a state and another function, but here they combine that into a single hook, which is very nice. I will call this function get zip file, and I will define an asynchronous function. I will make sure you can actually see this code. Okay, you can. Now, const, I will destruct the data from after awaiting the Axios response. So get, this will be relative to the current path. So I can say, hey, go to source, then static.zip file. And by default, Axios expects a JSON response and sends a JSON data. To override that, you need to pass some configuration. And here I will put the response type will be array buffer. This is how we deal with files usually. And I will destruct the data. This will contain the actual buffer. We can just console log that. So yeah, sorry, because we need to actually link that, right? So on a click, call this function. So we can actually see now the buffer, which contains our zip file. Now we just actually use the state. So I can say, hey, if the state.loading is true, then maybe show loading like this. Else, the string. We won't actually see it because it's really fast, but I just want to show you the idea behind this hook, which is very, very nice. I always wanted something like this. Now I found it. I actually started using that everywhere in like my personal projects or even work. So now we actually got the buffer. How we can read the buffer and read the information inside of it? It turns out after I did some research, JS zip, there is a package called JavaScript zip that works on Node and the browser, which is very interesting. So let's actually install it. I'll put the link in the description for these packages. But yeah, and and the cool thing, it handles a lot of the heavy work on us. So we can just create a new instance like this, const zip equal new zip. And by the way, I imported that using a Pascal case, or like starting with a capital letter, because this is a constructor function, and this is how we create a new instance from that constructor function, or a class. This is the convention in JavaScript. It's not official, but this is how the community deals with it. Now to actually load the buffer and find the zip file content from inside of it, I will type zip.load async. Now this will accept a buffer. I will give it the data, and now I think that's it. Let me cheat. Yeah, we can await, and now the content of the zip variable will have the information about the zip file. And there is something very important I forgot. This use async function also behaves like the use callback, so you need to pass to it a dependencies array. If it does not depend on anything external, just pass to it an empty array. This is very important, don't forget that. But I'm pretty sure they actually check if you didn't pass a dependencies, it will be an empty array. Not sure, but I'm gonna just leave it like this. But just remember it's similar to use callback. So if you want to change the reference based on a specific variable, you can pass it here. Anyway, sorry. Yeah, let's not waste time. So, and as you can see now, we can actually get the content of the zip file in this file's property in the object. And as you can see, these are the functions. These are the files there. The index.css, HTML, JavaScript. and it actually gets us or give us some information about it. Is it a directory or not? Like the date, something like this. Pretty sure this is when this file got actually created. So, so I think we finished step one. We fetched the zip file from the backend, the static server we have. Now we got the files. How we can actually read the content of the files, right? Let's actually try that. Um, so I know that we have this index.css, right? So what we can say, zip.file, just give it the path for that file. Since it's in the root, that's very easy. You can do it like that. And this will act, I think this will be, we need to call something. Yeah, async. I will get like the text and just await that and store it in a variable. So console log CSS. And as you can see, we got the actual CSS in the zip file inside the CSS file, which is very nice. You can do the same thing for HTML, JavaScript, and CSS. Now, the thing is, what if I did like, hey, I'm assuming, for example, we have this index.html. I will get it. Now, how about I inject it here somewhere? Let's say maybe like an div, like this. Maybe we'll use a div. So for example, we could at some point say, hey, ref.current.inner HTML, just in case we will just do this, okay? Oops. Equal this HTML. What's the error? Okay. I think we don't need to have it. It's because in an assignment. So it works, but this actually can actually see the HTML, but it got sanitized. So the script tags, I think, is not there anymore, and the link tags. And as you can see, it's just like it's not that useful. Maybe there is a way. I think dangerously static HTML could actually save, like, could actually benefit us here. But the issue is this is a static website that I need to display in my website. And to do this, like each website will have its own window object, its own document, its own header, its own like script tags and stuff like that. So I can't inject it in the parent like website, just in the HTML of it, anywhere inside of a div, for example. To do this, there is something called iframe. Now, I hope my example was clear. I think it's not, but if you read about the iframes, it's basically a way to include other websites in your websites, and they can communicate these two websites using the post message API. The post message, yeah, window.post message. This is how they can both communicate these windows. But something very important that you should definitely remember: if you have multiple iframes in your website, they only can communicate with each other if they all share the same domain. If one of the iframes does not like have the same domain, they can't actually access anything from the parent. And just a small correction: if they are using the post message API, everything is fine. The old way was like the child iframe will try to access the window object of the parent. This is a huge security issue. So all browsers actually now disable that. So you should always use the post message API. But if you don't have control over the iframes, you should always remember that if like for example the iframe is very old code, you need somehow or so for some reason you want to display it in your website, remember that if the code there in the iframe tries to access your window object, the browser will prevent that because they are from a different domain. So you need to like overcome that issue. But yeah, let's just focus here. So I'm gonna use an iframe and just display my website from the zip file in the iframe. and we will have some issues now. We will fix them and continue until everything works. Yeah. So I will change this to iframe. Ref will still, I will call this iframe ref. Let's change it here. And I will give it a width of 100% and a height of 400 pixels. And what I need to do here is the following. Let me cheat. Just hold on a second. Yeah, so we got the HTML. I will call it HTML string because it's an HTML string. And what I will say, sorry. I will like remove this and I'll say const document will be equal to iframe ref dot current dot content window dot document, and I will say document dot open and document dot write HTML str and document dot close. I think this should be a document object model, but let's see what will happen. Let's click this. Now this will actually be here, and here is everything, but I think I made a mistake. So let's actually, yeah, sorry, my bad. I did not actually link the CSS and JavaScript here. So let's actually do that. Go here, put it, let's open this with, choose another app, Visual Studio Code. What I need to do is have a link, CSS, to be index.css, and a script, index.javascript. This will be relative to the current path, and I'm gonna delete this one and just copy it here. Okay, my bad. Now refresh console, click. We should see this script and this link tag, but we will of course see this 404, but I think I made a mistake also in the naming. So let me go and fix that. I'll put it here, open with Visual Studio Code. Yeah, like this. And yeah, delete, copy it here, and then delete it, of course. Okay, now everything should be what we wanted. Now load. We should see that the CSS and the JavaScript are actually linked, but we get this 404 error because if you like, we are only serving this from a static zip file, or from a zip file, right? So if you think about it, these actual index.css and index.javascript does not exist in any place, only inside the zip file that currently is in the memory of the website, right? So how we can actually do this? Not sure if it's the best idea. This is still like we are just experimenting, okay? So at least the way I found it is, hey, I will find all the link tags in the head and just inline them, like go from in the zip file, find this index.css, get the CSS text, inline it here. Okay, so we are inlining the CSS. For the script tag, this will actually not work. You can't inline your JavaScript. You can't like create a script tag with some JavaScript inside of it and inject it into DOM. The browser will not run that. So there is another way to do it, but this is what we are gonna do now. First thing, inline the CSS to make it work. Should be very easy. So before we actually do this, let's come here and yeah. I'm gonna create, so to make our life easier, not to do like string manipulations and regex, I will convert this HTML string into document.create element, and I will give it create an HTML element, and HTML.inner HTML will be equal to HTML string. Okay. Now to get the links, all the links tags, I'm gonna say html.get element by tag name, and I will give it link. Now for for each link of our links we got, this will return an like array of collection or HTML collections. We can loop over that. For each link, we need to get its name and just read it from the zip file, inline it here. So we are making this like CSS replacement dynamic. And let's actually log each one of these. So console log the link. Let's go and see that. As you can see, we get the actual HTML element, and this type this .href. This will give us this. So to access that, you need to go to localhost 3000 index.css, and actually this will not work. This, like, we need to actually remove the local host of 3000. We need to only get this index.css and everything after that. So everything after the domain name, we need to get it. This is the path for the CSS file, and will, of course, for other files. And there is actually very cool function built in Node.js called parse and join from the file system. But we can't use Node.js like context in the browser, right? But there is like some kind of other implementations or packages that implements these features and adds them into the front end. One of them is called can you see what I'm typing? Yeah, one of them is called npm install path browsify. This will give us some of the path functionalities that exist in Node.js. So import from path browsify. I will import the join and the parse. So join will actually create a valid URL based like URL or file path based on some strings you passed to it. So instead of typing this, for example, I can type join source and static.zip, and it will actually create a valid URL or path for any operating system. This is like talking in Node.js. Here it will create our path, the path we wanted very easily. You can also pass here an array, for example. This will still works, which is very nice. You can create very dynamic stuff. Now for the parse, let's actually console log after we parse this URL. Here. So as you can see, we get the root, this is the directory, we don't care about that. This is the name, this is the extension. So the only thing we need to get is, in this example, you can just get the base, but if you are dealing with like nested folders, the first time I did this, I did it with nested folders, but the video got really long, so I'm gonna cut these things out. But this is a good way to like remove the domain from the directory names and the paths. You could also write regular expressions, but I thought I would show you this way. Feel free to do whatever you want. Everything is fine, I guess. So I'm just gonna get the base. Yeah. Yeah, and I need now to create some link tags, or I need to actually like read this text from this file, right? So I'm now pointing at index.css. I need to read that CSS from that file, from the zip file. So const CSS would be equal to our wait. The same thing we did above, file, like now we need to actually go to the base, async text. Let's console log the CSS to make sure we are doing everything right. Okay, now it works. Now what we need to do is just to inline it in the HTML object here, this one. So HTML dot get element by tag name. I will get the head element, and this will always return a collection of HTML nodes. So I'm gonna destruct the first one, which will always be the head, because we always have a single head. Hopefully, I have never seen an HTML page with multiple heads. You can do it, but it won't work, I think. Or maybe the browser will try to correct some stuff and it won't give you the correct behavior. But yeah, I'm just gonna assume there is only one head. So style document.create element style, and now style.append child. Now I'm gonna give it, also I'm gonna use the document.create text node. I'll give it the CSS we have as a string. Now the head.append child, I'm gonna give it the style tag. Now see what will happen. Nothing. I think we did something wrong. Yeah, it's not here. Uh, yeah, because, yes, sorry. As you can see, I'm passing the HTML string to the iframe. I should pass this object string that I am like modifying, right? After I'm using the, like, after converting that to a document object model, doing everything I want here, I need to pass to it after I modify it uh, to the iframe. So I could say, I think I could say just like this, and it will take care of everything for me. Let's just test it. No, so I think I should type dot inner HTML. Now it should work, I guess. It works. So we were able to load the CSS, but I think I will give you something if you are interested to do it. Remove these links because we are still getting the error even though we are inlining the CSS. Yeah, so I think that's something you should do. It's really easy. Just delete every node after inlining that. So the CSS works. Now we need to look for the JavaScript. It won't work the same way. Okay. I tried it. I figured out a way after very long research. If I will try to like find the links that actually help me. I won't say I understood the complete code for that, but I'm gonna show you and try my best. So first thing, we need to get the script tags. These, like, okay, all of them. Let's get them and inline them one by one. So scripts will be equal to html.get element by tag name, and I'll give it script. Now for scripts, for each script, I'm gonna do the same thing like this here. So const, I'm destructing the base from, or like from the parse, and we'll give it the script.src. And now let's actually read the JavaScript text. Await zip.file, give it the base. If you are dealing with nested folders, the join will really help you here. And now async, give it a text. Now let's actually just console log that to see what will happen. We actually got the JavaScript as a text, so which is very nice. Now I'm gonna define a JS script. This will be JS script tag document dot create element. I will give it a script and const. So yeah, this will actually get me to this weird thing. So we can't actually just create a script tag, add inside of it some text that represents JavaScript, give it to the browser, hey, render that, and run it. It won't do that. It won't give you an error message, but it won't do it. I think it's a security issue in my opinion. I think, but I'm not. I might be wrong. So what we could do here, we could do that using Blob API. We could use this Blob API, for example, and like this is just a summary for this API. Uh, if you have like some text or some file that you want to represent by a URL on the client without dealing with any backend, you can use this Blob API with I think it's called URL.createObjectURL. And combining these two, for example, I can create some random text and create a URL for it and put it inside the source tag or source attribute in my script tag. So this is like the main idea here. I'm gonna create a blob that represents some JavaScript code, create a URL for it, and then add this URL in the source tag for each script. Yeah. So, but blob actually stands for object binary large object. I can't actually remember. Binary. Blob acronym. What does blob mean? binary large object. Okay, binary large object. So I just like I said, the main idea here, and you can use this blob in a lot of places. Sometimes I have like this file on my browser or in the memory that I want to use it to download. So I will just use this blob to download it. I will generate a URL and like serve it from that URL. It's something that exists in the browser APIs. Uh, so the JavaScript string that we actually displayed here, we will convert that into a blob. Now to add this blob or like to serve this a blob that exists in the memory, which is like just like a file, we need some URL to it, right? For that, we will use this create object URL function from the global URL object. This will actually give it, you can give it a blob, it will give you a temporary URL you can serve that blob from. Everything here is on the front end. I hope it's clear. It's kind of confusing to be honest, but I really hope it's clear. So we're creating our JavaScript tag. Now we need to create our JavaScript blob. This will be equal to new blob. This will accept an array. I'll give it the JavaScript code. Now this will accept the type of the blob. I will say text JavaScript. I hopefully wrote that. Yeah, I think I wrote that correctly. Now to create a URL, I'm gonna do URL.create object URL. I will give it the JavaScript blob. Let's actually console this out just to show you what I'm talking about. So we created our blob. This is the actual URL. I think you have seen this kind of URLs in a lot of places, right? They start a blob, HTTP, then like some random string. And as you can see, this will actually point to our JavaScript. So we can put a source tag that points to this URL. It's very nice. It's very interesting to me. Yeah. Hopefully after this video, you can maybe discover that. Maybe we can find something like very like useful because of this. I'm not sure. Yeah. So the only thing we need to do now is JavaScript tag.src equal URL, and I don't think, yeah, it won't work. Yeah, I didn't actually add it into the, like here, I need to add it. So I actually tried to add it so many times inside this head, but actually I need to access the body inside the iframe. But yeah, let's just try things together, okay? So in the HTML, or actually I'm creating an HTML. Yeah, I don't think the way I created these like tags are correct completely, or this, I think this line could be better. But just for now, what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna reference the document, this one here. I'm gonna call it iframe doc will be equal to this. I could actually do it here, right? And just use it here as well. And here what I'm gonna say, iframe doc dot append child. I'll give it the JS script tag. I think now we will see like a very weird issue. I think the website will actually, or it won't work. I'm actually comparing. Yeah, let's just debug that together, but it should actually work. Yeah, we have this script tag. It should be injected somewhere. But for some reason, I really don't understand this. So remove child. I had to do this to make it work. So click here. Yeah, so there's some kind of issues. I think the last thing that will actually will actually make it work is this revoke. We need to like free this URL after we used it. Let me just, one second, let me just copy paste some code. Like after I did that, this is what I did in my original code. So it should be something like this. Yeah. So we should wait. We should see, yeah, this alert, and it should now work. But again, I really just like to be completely honest. I really don't understand why I need to do these two things. For me, it seems that unnecessary, but without them, this will not work. So reload, click on it. The JavaScript won't actually run. Oh, it works. Uh, I think my original code has some bugs, but yeah, it works. So yeah, I don't mean to I don't mean to confuse you, but yeah, it works. So I'm just gonna leave these two lines here. But I think this one is if you used a URL after creating that from a blob, you should revoke it when you like. You should actually remove it from memory, telling the browser, "Hey, I'm not using this file anymore. I already loaded it in the browser, or the browser already loaded that, run that, and we are done with it. So remove it from memory." So I think this makes sense, but this one makes sense, but this one not. Not sure what happened with my code originally, but yeah. So we should just wait a couple of seconds. We should see an alert, which means everything is fine. Yeah, I think this is very long video, and hopefully it's useful in any way whatsoever. And I hope I did not confuse you like at the end. But yeah, just remember I'm just exploring this thing like together. So yeah, you will see some repo for it. It will be like this is the name of the repo. There is a README there. Everything in the description. Yeah, that's it. Bye.